If you're watching this, maybe you are stuck, trapped in a cycle that consumes you, drains you, but for some inexplicable reason, you can't escape. I'm of course talking about the greatest digital trap of our era, the social media. But what if I told you there was a 19th century philosopher, a man with an impressive mustache and an even more formidable mind, who foresaw all of this? A man who with almost prophetic clarity gave us the keys to understanding why even we often hate them, we simply can't stop scrolling. Let's unearth the giant of thought of Friedrich Nietzsche and pit him face to face with a many-headed monster of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all those platforms that dominate our lives today. Get ready, because this isn't just another talk about social media. This is a deep dive into the human psyche, a confrontation with our own weaknesses, and perhaps even a compass showing a way out of this digital labyrinth. Ask yourself these questions. Have you ever wondered why, after hours of scrolling, you feel emptier than before? Why the joy of seeing a friend's success comes mixed with a sting of envy? Why you feel an almost irresistible need to share every moment of your life, even the most intimate ones, with an invisible audience? If you've asked yourself these questions, congratulations, you're on the right path. Because those questions echo the concerns Nietzsche raised over 100 years ago. He didn't speak of algorithms or likes, of course, but he did speak of something far more fundamental: the human nature and its relationship to morality, values, and the search for meaning. Nietzsche was a fierce critic of the society of his time, a society he believed was becoming weak, conformist, and nihilistic. And what is nihilism? In few words, it's the belief that life lacks meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. This sound familiar? Because let's be honest, how many times have we felt that emptiness after a social media marathon? That sense that, in the end, everything we just saw is trivial? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the root. One of his core ideas is the will to power. And no, it's not about dominating others or hoarding wealth, though it's often misunderstood that way. The will to power is a vital force, a fundamental drive in every human being that urges us to grow, to surpass ourselves, to create, to affirm our existence. It's the spark that moves us to become more, to reach our potential. Now let's think about social media under this light. Do they foster or suppress our will to power? At first glance, you might think they foster it. After all, they let us construct an identity, showcase our skills, share our achievements. But pause for a second and look more closely. What kind of identity are we building? Is it authentic, or an idealized, carefully curated version of ourselves designed to win approval? Nietzsche deeply distrusted what he called herd morality, a morality based on the values of the majority, on conformity, on seeking social approval. He believed this kind of morality stifles individuality, creativity, and true human greatness. And if anything defines social media, it's exactly that relentless pursuit of approval, likes, or positive comments. We've become little performing artists, acting for an invisible audience, desperate to fit in, to be validated. And here comes the first fascinating twist. Nietzsche spoke of resentment, an emotion born from impotence, from the inability to act, create, or truly be oneself. It's a contained rage cloaked in morality, condemning what cannot achieve. Sound familiar? Think about it. How many times have you seen others' posts, their seemingly perfect lives, exotic travels, professional successes, and felt the twinge of resentment? Not just envy. A kind of bitterness because your life isn't as interesting or successful. That resentment is a slow poison, and guess what? The social media is its primary dispenser. We are constantly comparing ourselves to idealized versions of others, versions as unreal as an oil painting. And in that constant comparison, our own will to power weakens. Instead of focusing on our own growth, our own excellence, we obsess over what others have or are, and we drown in a sea of dissatisfaction. But here's a practical tip you can start applying right now. Whenever you feel that twinge of resentment when you see a post, pause. Ask yourself, does this inspire me to be better, or does it paralyze me with envy? If it's the latter, reflect on why you're following that person. It's not necessarily about removing everyone who makes you feel bad, but about being mindful of how content affects you and taking control of your own feed. Remember, you have the power to curate what you consume. If you think you hate social media now, wait until you understand why Nietzsche would call you part of the last man. Let's dive into one of his most uncomfortable but revealing concepts to understand our digital behavior. Nietzsche painted a dystopian future, not of robots or nuclear apocalypse, but something far subtler and perhaps more terrifying: the annihilation of the human spirit. The last man is the antithesis of the Übermensch or Overman, the ideal individual who surpasses himself, creates his own values, and lives a life of self-affirmation. The last man, by contrast, is conformist, complacent creature who has domesticated all great desires and passions. He has sacrificed the pursuit of excellence, creativity, and risk for security, comfort, and superficial happiness. Sound familiar? Think in social media. Aren't they the perfect breeding grounds for the last man? On these platforms, originality is often drowned in a sea of trends and memes. The courage to express an unpopular opinion is crushed by fear of backlash. The pursuit of truth dissolves into passive consumption of sensational headlines and fake news. The last man, Nietzsche warns, blinks. He blinks at grandeur, at suffering, at tragedy. All he wants is an easy, problem-free life. He wants to fit in. And here's the key. The social media offers just that. They offer a simulation of connection without the effort of real connection. They offer the illusion of being informed without the depth of knowledge. They offer instant validation without the hard work of achieving something meaningful. Think of the cycle of trends. A song, a dance, a filter. Millions copy it over and over. There's no room for originality, only imitation. No room for challenge, only conformity. Why do we do this? Because it's easy. Because it gives us instant belonging. Because it spares us the uncomfortable effort of thinking for ourselves, of creating something new, of risking being different. That, my friends, is the last man in action. This figure lives for the like, the share, the approving comment. His sense of worth is tied to others' perceptions in the digital world. And when that perception isn't what he wants, he crashes. Anxiety, depression, low self-esteem become constant companions of those who surrender to this ideal. Nietzsche predicted that this complacency would lead humanity into a form of passive nihilism, where life lacks meaning and purpose. People would be content with small gratifications, constant distractions, without seeking anything deeper. And if this doesn't describe many social media experiences, I don't know what does. We're tied to an endless treadmill of content, chasing little dopamine hits that leave us empty seconds later. But here comes the advice that can make a difference. If you recognize the shadow of the last man in yourself or those around you, it's time for awakening. And I'm not telling you to quit social media completely. I'm asking you to use it consciously and strategically, to master it rather than be mastered. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you're about to post something, stop for a second. Ask yourself, why am I posting this? Is it for approval? To show an unreal version of myself? Or because I genuinely want to share something valuable, something I'm passionate about, or something authentic? If it's the first two, well, consider whether it really needs posting. And if you do post, be conscious of your motive. Another crucial point is authenticity. Nietzsche valued brutal honesty with oneself. Being authentic in a world of filters and appearances is an act of rebellion. It's not about airing all your vulnerabilities publicly. It is about staying true to yourself and what you choose to share and how you engage. Stop comparing yourself to others. Your journey is yours and unique. Think about the paradox. The social media gives us a stage to be seen and heard, but often pushes us to be less ourselves. It encourages masks that fit herd expectations, and in the process, we lose our individuality, our spark, and our true will to power. The challenge is enormous, to be honest, but the reward is even greater. Challenging the last man within us means reconnecting with our deepest values, with forgotten passions, with that spark of creativity stifled by trivial noise. It means daring to be unpopular for being authentic, choosing depth over superficiality, meaning over empty entertainment. Now is the time to plunge into the abyss, to face the ghost that Nietzsche saw haunting modernity, the nihilism. And you'll find that, although heavy, it's crucial to understand why social media, despite its promises, leave us with a persistent sense of emptiness. In short, nihilism is the belief that life lacks meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. Nietzsche didn't see it as an end, but as a necessary phase, a process of deconstructing old values to make way for new ones. The problem arises when we get stuck in that phase, when life becomes a string of disconnected distractions with no guiding thread. And here's where social media becomes a powerful catalyst for modern nihilism. We've access to infinite information, others' experiences, opinions, visual and auditory stimuli. It's a constant flood. But how much of it has real, lasting meaning for our lives? We scroll for hours, consuming fleeting news, viral videos forgotten minutes later, pictures of perfect meals and unattainable vacations. We're informed about everything and nothing at once. We know what an influencer had for dinner in San Francisco, but maybe haven't had a deep conversation with a loved one in days. We've heard thousands of strangers' opinions, but forgotten how to form our own, or maybe don't even care. This bombardment of trivial, context-free information creates what psychologists call decision fatigue and cognitive overload. Our brains are wired to process meaningful info relevant to our survival and well-being. When we drown it in irrelevance, it exhausts. An exhausted brain seeks the easy way out: distraction. We fall into a vicious loop. We feel empty, seek distraction in social media, feel even emptier. Nietzsche said humans need a horizon, a set of values and purposes that give life meaning. If that horizon disappears, life becomes a series of directionless events. Social media, by fragmenting our attention and presenting a world of constant triviality, tends to erase that horizon. They offer endless micro-gratifications, but rarely drive us toward larger, more meaningful aims. Think of the concept of personal narrative. Before the digital era, our narrative was built through lived experiences, relationships, real achievements, and also failures. Today, much of it is constructed online, edited, and curated for public consumption. We become the directors of our own movie, but often forget that the audience only sees the trailer, not the full film, not the bloopers, not the good moments, not the real sadness. When we obsess over that superficial narrative, we lose connection with the authenticity of our own experience. And when real life doesn't line up with the idealized version presented online, the cognitive dissonance is brutal. This fuels anxiety, depression, and yes, nihilism. Why bother if the perfect life shown on screen is unattainable, or worse, if our real life seems so insignificant by comparison? But this is where Nietzsche's philosophy offers a way out. Not an easy one, but a powerful one. He didn't give us answers, he challenged us to find our own. His message was about self-overcoming and value creation. The first step to combat digital nihilism is awareness. Stop consuming passively. Begin to ask yourself, does this build me up? Does it inform me meaningfully? Does it truly connect me with people who matter? If not, then it's time to change the script. Nietzsche urged us to be creators of our own meaning, our own values. Instead of mindless content consumption, what if we use social media as a tool to create, to express, to connect genuinely? Here comes another practical tip to counter nihilism. Create over consume. Dedicate part of your online time to creating something, writing a thoughtful post, designing something, learning a skill. Or instead of just watching TikTok, create one that truly expresses you, not just a trend. Turn a portion of your consumption time into creation time. It's a subtle shift, but its impact on your sense of purpose can be profound. Another vital point: the search for solitude. Nietzsche valued solitude as a space for reflection, self-knowledge, and the birth of new ideas. In a world connected 24/7, finding intentional moments of solitude is revolutionary. Turn off notifications. Leave your phone in another room. Go for a walk without earbuds. Let your mind wander uninterrupted. It's in those silent moments that true answers are found, that new horizons of meaning are forged. We've reached the final stretch of our journey, a journey from Nietzsche's mustache to TikTok's algorithm. We've dissected will to power, confronted resentment, unmask the last man, face the nihilism social media can reinforce. Now comes the moment of truth. Action. It's time for transvaluation of values, a Nietzschean concept that gives us the key to understand our digital dilemma. Nietzsche didn't want us to lament. He wanted us to act. He wanted us to take the reins of our existence and create our own values, instead of passively accepting those imposed by society, or in this case, the algorithm. Transvaluation of values isn't destruction for its own sake. It's recreation. It's looking at existing values, questioning them, and deciding whether they serve us or drag us down. In the context of social media, transvaluation means asking, what real value does this platform bring me? Does it bring me closer to the person I want to be, or push me away? Am I consuming content that elevates me, or diving into a pit of comparison and triviality? It's an honest examination of our relationship with these tools. Think about the traditional social media measures of success: followers, likes, and comments. Are those values truly defining your personal success? Or is your success defined by real-world relationships, your personal growth, meaningful contributions, and inner peace? Nietzsche would say digital values are empty unless rooted in deeper authenticity. The first practical step in this transvaluation is intention. Before opening any social media app, ask, what's my intention here? Am I seeking inspiration, specific information, or just a random distraction? If it's the latter, stop. Choose an activity that gives you real purpose. Read a book, learn something new, call a friend, go for a walk, create something. Intention transforms passive consumption into a conscious act. Another key, discipline. Social media is engineered to be addictive, to exploit psychological vulnerabilities. Infinite scroll isn't an accident, it's a strategy. Discipline is the shield that protects us from manipulation. Set time limits, use apps that block excessive use, or designate specific times for social media. Don't let the platform decide for you. Take control. Live with risk and creation. Embrace the chaos and complexity of real life. In its attempt to present a clean, perfect world, social media often drives us away from that reality. It makes us fear failure, imperfection, or conflict. But it's precisely in those moments of challenge and difficulty that we grow, where our will to power is strengthened. So here's the next and possibly most important advice. Prioritize the real world over the digital. Invest more time and energy in face-to-face relationships, in your offline passions, in learning and growing in the physical world. When choosing between a virtual like and a real conversation, choose the real. When choosing between seeing others' lives and living yours, choose living yours. This isn't a call to cancel social media. They're powerful tools, and like any tool, they can build or destroy. The key is how we use them. Nietzsche would give us the ability to be architects of our own digital life, rather than prisoners. Ultimately, Nietzsche offers us a roadmap to freedom in the digital age. He tells us the problem isn't social media itself. It's how we've allowed it to erode our will to power, plunge us into resentment and nihilism, and turn us into last men. The solution lies in self-assertion, in creating our own values, in authenticity, and in the courage to live a life of meaning beyond the dictates of the algorithm. And now the question I want you to take with you, the spark for your own transvaluation. Are you using social media to build your will to power, or to weaken it? I hope this deep dive into Nietzsche's mind has given you a fresh perspective on your relationship with social media. It's not an easy battle, but it's one worth fighting for your freedom and for the meaning of your life. If this video resonated with you, if it made you think, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone you believe could benefit, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment below telling me, what's the first step you're going to take to revalue your relationship with social media? Your opinion is valuable, and together we can start a much more meaningful conversation. Until next time, and remember, live with a will to power.